13 years ago, my 7-year-old mind was blown when I saw James Cameron's Avatar. So, after all this time, was the sequel worth the wait? What is going on, you guys? My name is, of course, Nick, and welcome back to the channel. Avatar The Way of Water is here, so let's talk about it. Most of, if not all of everyone's complaints with the original film is that the story is a simple copy and paste of Dances with Wolves, and I do think there is some merit to that argument. A lot of the intrigue of the first film is that introduction into this unfamiliar, fantastical world of Pandora. So going into the sequel, I really felt like we needed something a little more than just, well, a spectacle. And in some aspects of this new story, James Cameron does deliver, but mostly throughout the sequel's runtime, it is genuinely about the spectacle. And honestly, before we even continue, I feel the need to address this weak, boring argument that I've been seeing online as I've been scrolling through just comment sections of just reviews for this movie. That this movie is just about the spectacle. The whole point is the visuals. If the story isn't there, it's whatever. It's not supposed to be Citizen Kane. It's not supposed to win a bunch of Oscars. And I absolutely hate and despise that argument because for a film with such a high budget, and of course the visuals are amazing because, I mean, the budget alone is going to allow that to happen. If we're going to hold the original film story under a microscope and pick it apart for being too simple or predictable, then we damn well better do it here. So recently it's become a common thing to say, especially to critics, that if it's a bigger tentpole film like a Marvel or a DC, or in this particular case, an Avatar, then there isn't an inherent responsibility to tell a good story. Rather, it's just to wow us as an audience with the amazing visuals. And no, I'm not asking for Shakespeare in my comic book or my intellectual property films. I'm just asking for a little more effort when it comes to what's on the page, because at the end of the day, no matter how many amazing underwater shots you have, if your story is as solid as a feather, by the end of this 3-hour experience, at least in my perspective, nothing really holds any weight. And I think the real test of how good this story actually is will be upon its rewatch value, not only without the gimmick of 3D or seeing it in a theater with a packed audience or even by yourself in a theater. I think once this film is released on home video, I think a lot of the major problems with the movie is going to be more prominent, and I guarantee we're going to start seeing more people talk about it. I just think right now, opening weekend, we're all riding this high of how amazing the visuals were, but I think as it kind of progresses and as time passes, we're going to come down from this high and we're going to actually start talking about the movie on a story basis. And you know what? If you like the story of this film, if you find it to be compelling and enjoyable, that's perfectly fine. Out of the 5 people that I went to see the film last night, only one of us felt that way. Only one of us felt compelled and intrigued into the story, but the rest of us, the other 4, didn't feel that whatsoever. We felt bored most of the time, and I know not everyone's going to share the same experience, which is why I'm interested to see how a lot of you guys feel about it. James Cameron, at least on a base level, can weave what may be a lackluster story into the spectacle, so it just doesn't feel as if we're only watching what is essentially a giant 3-hour set piece. Even though I do think the story is as see-through as the water they're in, it really does feel as if there's a reason to be spending all this time in the water, even if that particular reason isn't the most compelling in the world. And I'm not even going to be talking about the visuals that much, because we all know it's amazing. It looks better than the original. It's probably the best that we've ever seen on any screen anywhere, whether that's television, film, whatever the hell, video games. It's the best we've ever seen, and that's just, there's not much more that I can add to that conversation. But I feel like my biggest complaints with the story in particular is the simple fact that it's literally a complete retread of what we experienced in the first film, literally all the way down to the villains being the exact same as the previous. And I know that we kind of already knew that the Sky People are going to be the antagonists, and they're probably going to continue to be the main antagonist of this franchise. But when your villain is literally the same one-dimensional douchebag that you brought back to life because you didn't really put in the time to actually writing a compelling villain, and they're just bad for the sake of being bad. The most interesting villains are villains that are doing what they're doing because they genuinely think it's the right thing to do, not just because they're an asshole and because they're mean and they're evil. Then on top of all of that, you throw in this human kid that everyone calls Spider that's supposed to have this emotional connection with one of the antagonists, and I swear to God, you never felt a single moment of what Cameron was trying to convey with that relationship. Like, there's a decision that Spider makes at the very end of the movie that just felt so out of character and out of pocket for what we just saw on screen that I don't know, I rolled my eyes at it. Now, you could make the argument that they shot this film and the third back to back, so maybe in context, after seeing the third movie, this one will feel a lot more necessary. But upon the lights coming up in the theater, I didn't hear a roaring applause. I mean, I heard a couple people clap, but when I say a couple, it was maybe a handful, like maybe 5 people clapped, while everyone else around me and everyone else in the theater were literally saying things out loud like, meh, it didn't need to be that long. That wasn't really that good. If I didn't see that, I wouldn't have been mad. And it's okay to say that and to feel that. I personally didn't like this movie. Outside of the immaculate visuals, there's just not really much substance to be had within the story, and that's where this film falls flat. Yes, I understand that a part of the price of admission is the out-of-this-world visuals, but what has film always been about? It's always been about telling good and compelling stories, and unfortunately, I think The Way of Water did not execute in that respect. And it pains me to say that because the original was one of my favorite movies growing up, and to this day, I still defend it. But now I don't really know how I feel about it. I'm definitely interested to see where the third film is going to go, and I know they have plans to go to Earth in later sequels, so that should be interesting. I just hope the writing gets a bit of a polish as we dive deeper into this world. With all that said, you guys, I'm going to give Avatar: The Way of Water a 2.5 out of 5. Is 2.5 a little low? Yeah, probably, but just because a movie has spectacular visuals doesn't mean it's a great movie. They still have to tell a great story, and unfortunately, I think they really did miss the mark with this one. Now, with all that said, what did you guys think about Avatar: The Way of Water? Have you guys gotten a chance to see it? I know it just came out a little over 24 hours ago. Am I crazy for thinking it's underwhelming? Did you guys have a cathartic experience that I just failed to have? Let me know in the comment section below, and feel free to leave your opinions down there, because I would love to talk about it, especially this movie. It's because I feel like I'm in the minority a little bit with this one, except for my specific screening. I felt like we were all a little underwhelmed by it, but online it looks like everyone's having a great time with the movie, and that's really good to hear. It's just, I wish I could have felt that. With all that said, I hope you guys do have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.